When was the last time you underestimated or overestimated how much stitching you could get done for a stitching challenge or just a stitching session? If you're curious about some of the problems I've had with stitching challenges and especially overestimating how much stitching I could get done for a challenge, please join me for this particular Flosstube episode where I have gone so far over the estimation mark of what I thought I could achieve that I'm very much needing to reevaluate how I tackle the second half of this challenge. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kristen, the cross stitching runner, and this is my Flosstube channel. Thank you so much for joining me for this particular episode. For anyone who has stumbled across this channel, you've got no idea what I'm rambling on about, especially when it comes to stitching and challenges and such. This channel is all about cross stitch with a bit of life stuff thrown in, and I want to say a big hello and welcome to all new and returning viewers. And if by chance you've stumbled across this channel and you like what this episode is all about and you're curious about any future episodes that I release, I'd love for you to do all of the wonderful social media YouTube things by liking, subscribing, ringing that special bell that gives you all of the notifications about any future episodes that I release. And if by chance you're watching this on your mobile phone, you'll hopefully see a hype button. And this is a function feature that YouTube have had for a little while now. And what I love with this hype button on the mobile phone is that when you click on it, you are saying to YouTube and the rest of the community that you're actually really liking what this episode or this Flosstube channel is all about, and that you're saying to YouTube, hey, please push this channel just a little bit more and promote it a bit more to people who may not have come across this channel before. So that is a bit of a long intro. And as a way of understanding what's going on for the stitching challenge that I'm doing, at the moment, the Commonwealth Games is on, and in my last episode, I talked a bit about what the Commonwealth Games is, what's involved with it, and how I was going to try and incorporate the Commonwealth Games with some of the Christmas and July stitching for this year. And in my last episode, I was quite naive about how many gold medals that Australia would win, and thinking that I would have all of the time in the world to be able to get a bucket load of stitching done. And I have fallen flat on my face, sadly. What I had hoped to have happen was be able to put roughly 500 stitches into any given full coverage piece of a Christmas theme for every gold medal that Australia would win, and do a similar thing for some of the other countries that won gold medals as well. The really good thing, in a way, is that Australia is doing really well with swimming, and we've been dominating a lot of the swimming events and winning majority of them, or at least placing, which is a fantastic thing from a sporting perspective. From a stitching perspective, I'm very much needing to reevaluate what's going on. So to put into perspective, I'm just going to grab my little book that I'm using for tracking some of the sporting things and all the rest. So on day one, because we're up to about day 5 of the Commonwealth Games. Tonight, Australian time, we'll be going into day 6. So for nearly each day, Australia has won about 6 gold medals, predominantly in the pool. There have been some gold medals with gymnastics and some of the other sports. On day 3, Australia won 5 gold medals. Day 4, Australia won 9 gold medals. And then just yesterday, depending on the time zone, Australia won another 7 gold medals. And that is a fantastic feat for all of the athletes who are competing at the moment. And it's meaning that trying to put 500 stitches into any piece, especially if, for a full coverage piece, it's a good amount, but for 5, let's get these words right. To do 500 stitches per gold medal, that's too much for the style of stitching that I do. It would be achievable if I was doing perhaps 10 stitch, which would go 10 times quicker, and I'd be able to achieve that number, no problems. Or if I was a two-handed stitcher, that would be fantastic as well. It would still be a little bit of a stretch, but it would perhaps be slightly achievable. I'm a one-handed stitcher in the sense that the projects are in a hoop. I'll hold with my left hand the project in the hoop, and then I just use my right hand going over and under to pull the needle through. So that does slow me down a bit. And this is where I've reevaluated, and I am just putting 100 stitches into a project for each gold medal. Last episode, I had also talked about perhaps putting 250 stitches into a project for every silver medal that was won, and then perhaps 150 stitches for every bronze medal that was won. And that would certainly be achievable if I wasn't worrying about any of the gold medals being won by Australia. And it would mean that I'd have a lot more to show you. With all of that said and done, let's actually get into the cross stitch and sharing with you what I've achieved. And the main project that has seen a lot of love for the Christmas stitching is called Meowy Christmas, and it's designed by Diana Lair for Custom Crafts. This is Meowy Christmas, and this is the first full coverage piece that I've seen by anyone that actually has a bit of backstitch in it. And with Meowy Christmas, I'm stitching this on 14 count Aida, using 2 strands over 1 fabric square. And I do have some part threads and such. And this is where I'm up to. So over the course of a couple of days, I've put about 1,100 to 1,200 stitches into this. And with the comparison of what it had been a few months ago, you can really see how much of a difference that amount of stitching has done for this piece. And I love that we can now see the cat's ear, its paw, the blue eye that it has. We can see a bit of its nose. It is coming along really, really well. And I just need a pause for a moment. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about that. I had a bit of a dry throat coughing fit happening. What I love with this piece is just how it's coming together, and it does have like a little bit of confetti stitching, which is to be expected because we've got some cats sitting in front of a Christmas tree. But I love stitching this. Sorry, still settling down a little. There's not much more I can really say on this one. So the next piece that I have to share with you is one that I definitely have the aim of finishing by the end of this calendar year. And at the rate that I'm going, I think that's achievable. So the piece that I have to share with you is out of the Ultimate Cross Stitch Christmas magazine. In recent days, the front cover of the magazine tore off. It is very much a well-loved book. I'm going to keep calling this a book because it is certainly a lot thicker than our traditional magazines. So this is one that I've stitched so many projects out of, and one that I've raved on a bit about for the last few years. So in terms of Scottie dogs, and Scottie dogs, they are just up here on the cover. My apologies for the glare. There we are. So Scottie dogs, the model for it was stitched on a white fabric, but I have chosen to stitch this on what I believe to be a 28 count orange Joberlin. This fabric I know I raved a bit about when I've spoken about this project. This fabric is just so nice and soft to stitch on. I got this fabric a few years ago from the Victoria House Needlecraft store up in Mittagong, and as we can see, I've got about two dogs to go. The additional difference that you'll notice with this dog, or this project rather, is the Scottie dog that is, I guess, over on the side where you see my fingers twitching. I mucked up a little bit, and then when I realised what my mistake was, I was too far gone to really worry about changing it. So this is a personalisation that I think still works. So you'll see that the Scottie dog that has the tartan ribbon around its neck, it's a lot darker compared to the other dogs that are in this piece. And that was because I made an assumption about the project and thought, yep, I've already got the colours that I need right next to me. It's going to be fine. What should have happened for the darker looking Scottie dog is that for some of the highlights of this piece, he should have had, actually no, I've gotten the two colours completely wrong. So he should not have been stitched in black. It should have just been his nose. He should be the same shade as the other grey dogs in the piece. He should have had DMC 414 and 318, I'm thinking, in his coat. But I think it works okay. It has me wondering if I'll do similar shadings for the Scottie dog that will be up in the top corner, or if I just follow as charted. This is one of those nice surprises that has actually worked out okay. The other personalizations I have done for this piece have been using some of the variegated colours that I've got for the reds. I've also used similar shades to what's called for with the accessories that the dogs have, whether it be the present that's hanging from their mouth or their collars or the hat they're wearing. And I think it's a nice change. It is something where I feel confident enough in my stitching now and in my colour choices, where obviously a pattern has called to me in terms of the palette that it has for the colours and such, and 99% of the time I'll stick to it. It's in these sort of circumstances where I feel confident enough, where I think, I need to change this up just a little bit because I'd like to use some of the other threads that I've got in my stash. And I like it when they end up being happy surprises like this. Okay, now the next piece that I have to share with you is one that isn't actually really part of the Christmas stitching, but a piece that I've put some work into regarding, I guess, a little bit to do with Christmas stitching, a little bit to do with the Comm Games, and I just really need to get some work put into it. And this is a piece called Farmyard Animals, and it is part of a Frankenstein triptych that I'm stitching for the Canberra Royal Show. This is where I'm up to so far, just for the farmyard animals side of it. What I think is super cool with this is that we can start to see the boots. We can see the bucket a little bit. And if I hold this up just a little bit closer to the camera, it's a little bit light, but we can actually start to see the little Baba chick. So he's very, very light, but right here is the little chickie. So that is super cool. I love how this is coming together, and this is just the wider component. This is being stitched 1/1 on 25 count Zweigart fabric that's printed on the side that we see, and then it's just white on the underside. And I really need to kick my butt into gear and actually get a bucket load of stitching done. So in recent days, I've put at least 1,200 stitches into it since we last caught up. And yeah, it still has a long way to go, but I'll get there. I have no doubt I'll achieve the goals that I need by the due date. Now, the next piece that I have to share with you is part of the Christmas in July stitching, but I haven't been able to properly put any work into it since the Commonwealth Games started. So this is a piece called Merry Colourful, and I'm just going to grab the cover page for you to really appreciate what it's all about. Okay, so Merry Colourful is a piece by Tilton Krafts. This is roughly what it will look like when it's done. And this is a piece where I started it several years ago and misplaced the initial piece I was stitching on, restarted it, then found the piece that I'd initially started. So I've come back to the piece that I originally started, and it's only been like a really tiny amount that I've put into it, and tiny amount in the grand scheme of things is just 111 stitches. I do want to put a lot more stitching into it, so it could end up being today's stitching, which would be day 5 of the Commonwealth Games, where I need to put about 700 stitches into a piece. So I think the 700 stitches into Merry Colourful by Tilton Crafts will see some really, really good progress on it. Now, that's pretty much it for the Christmas stitching. I do have some more whips to share with you in the lead up to the Christmas stitching, and I'll just get myself all organised and I'll see you very soon. Just before the Comm Games started, I was doing a fair bit of stitching relating to the AFL stitching challenge that I've been doing for what feels like quite a few years now. And for anyone who's new here, I'll just give a really quick summary synopsis of what the challenge is. So in AFL, we've got 18 teams, and each team I've assigned at least one project to that team. I've doubled up on some teams where doubled up on a project rather. So one project might have 2 or 3 teams associated with it just because of team colours, their mascots, all the hoo-ha that goes with it. And then with the games that the AFL teams play, they will win a game, and so their winning score will dictate what the minimum amount of stitches I'll put into a project. And with that in mind, I've been putting a fair bit of stitches into a piece called Four Seasons Cats, partly because I really want to get this piece done and I have the goal of getting it finished by the end of this calendar year, but also the Geelong Cats are slowly picking up on their season and starting to win a few games. And in one of the recent rounds that they played, they won their game and their winning score was 102 points. So Four Seasons Kittens is a gold collection dimensions kit, a piece or project kit rather that I purchased several years ago from one of the crafting fairs that had come to Canberra, and it was around the time when cross stitch was still fairly popular, or I think it might be winding down just a little bit in its popularity. Wonderful thing is that we've seen a resurgence. Now, in terms of the gold collections kittens, I am at the last quarter of stitching for this, and this is where I am up to. So I've been putting a lot of work into the kitten's face, the ginger cat, its eyes in the background with the floral flowers and everything else going with that. I think I'm now at the stage of just starting to do a bit of work around where we see the ribbon, and this is being stitched on 18 count Ada that came with the kit. I'm using all of the threads that came with it as well. And Dimensions kits, I have a love grumpiness with them. I still have quite a few, or not quite, I have some Dimensions kits still in my collection that will eventually get stitched, but it'll take a bit of time. I do love how this is starting to come together though, and it is taking shape. I'm happy with how this is coming along, and I'm very much starting to see the finish line for this, and there's not really much more I can say on this one. The next one that I have to share with you is the black and white rolled up daisy, and the cover page that I have for it is a hot cross stitching design, and I'm stitching black and white rolled up daisy on 18 count Ada. This is roughly what it'll look like when it's done. There have been some really good learning curves for this particular piece, and it is a piece that I may eventually stitch again and choose to stitch it without the background, and perhaps even rechart it so that we've got the two options of background or no background. And with the black and white rolled up daisy, I've put in a minimum of 89 stitches, and it has been associated with the Collingwood Magpies. I've also put some work into this piece because of the Adelaide Crows, and slowly it's coming together. This is definitely one of those pieces that looks 10 times better the further away it is. And most of my stitching has been towards the bottom. Just going to fold this up a bit. So I've been focusing mostly down here, where it's just mostly the DMC 37.99, that really still grey kind of shade. And at the moment it is 2 strands over 1 fabric square full cross. And let's see, the next piece that I have to share with you is called Patient Stitcher. It is a physical chart that I'm working on, and with Patient Stitcher I've got it associated with the St. Kilda Saints. And let's see, sorry for the crinkling. With Patient Stitcher, I am stitching it on 18 count Ada dyed by Paddock Lane Designs, and getting the cover page out is a challenge at times. This is roughly what it will look like when it's done. I have done predominantly the top border, and I'm now working on the quote and the yellow background, and this is where I'm up to so far. And this is beautiful fabric to stitch on. It's really nice and soft, and with this particular quote, it is something that I know I've talked a little bit about in recent times, or rather whenever I've worked on it. Stitching gives patience. Stitching doesn't take patience, it teaches patience. And it is definitely one of those pieces that reminds me of people I've spoken with over the years who have said that they don't have the patience for stitching. And I think it depends on the context of who I'm speaking with as to my headspace and the type of response that I'll give them, where I appreciate that cross stitch isn't for everyone, as other types of crafting may not be for everyone as well. But I think that depending on what your interests are will depend on how much patience you have for said thing. So if you've got the patience for drawing and learning how to draw, or if you're really keen to learn how to crochet, to knit, to cake decorate, to do any of those wonderfully creative things, then if it's something that you really want to do, then you'll find a way to have the patience for it, and you'll eventually find the time to put into the thing that you're wanting to do. So I really do like that quote. That is absolutely awesome. And with Patient Stitcher, I was required to put a minimum of 87 stitches into this. Now, the next piece that I have to share with you is another hot cross stitching design, and in my notes I've got it written down as butterfly. In previous episodes, I know that I've called this the Spanish proverb piece, and with this one, it is finding the cover page. Just bear with me for a moment. Okay, so the Spanish proverb is, "A life lived in fear is a life half lived." And for anyone who has been with this channel for a while, you've heard me talk about where this quote has come from, or the proverb rather. And for anyone who is new to here and is curious, this is a proverb or quote that I came across many, many moons ago when I was watching the movie Strictly Ballroom, a wonderful Aussie movie, and there's a character who gets really frustrated with one of the main characters, and she pretty much says to him, "Okay, you're living in fear of what the Dancing Federation is saying that you can and can't do. Get some courage, get some fire up in you, and do the dance moves that you want to do." And middle finger to the Dancing Federation, who are telling you that you can't do this, because if you go ahead and do this, you're going to show them that there's nothing wrong with the moves that you're doing, but it's going to force them to change, because the people in that federation are an older generation and they need to update what they're doing. So that's pretty much the really rough context behind a quote, and I think that it can be applied to so many areas of our lives, or so many situations, and that's why I'm really wanting to stitch this. And with this particular design, I am stitching this on 18 count Ada. I don't remember what the shade of the fabric is. It is some fabric that I had purchased a few years ago now from the Victoria House Needlecraft store in Mittagong. And with this piece, I have it associated with the Hawthorn Hawks, and they recently won some games, and I've needed to put a minimum of 225 stitches into it. And at the moment, I'm working predominantly on the lower half of the butterfly's wings, and I've even gone as far as starting to put some stitches into, it's really light, it's almost like ecru kind of colouring. It is a very similar shade to what the fabric is, but it's exciting in the sense that it means that that's pretty much the edge of the butterfly's wing, and then we're starting to get into a bit of the background of the piece, where it looks like it's meant to be some words. I'm not quite sure what those words are meant to be, but you can just sort of see on the cover page there that there are just some really light shading there for letters and words and such. So yeah, every time I go to work on this piece, I just keep falling in love with it, and it I am falling all over my words on this one. It is something that I'm very much enjoying working on. Okay, so the next piece that I have to share with you is one that I've nicknamed As Above, So Below. It is a heaven and earth design, and its official name, I'm just going to find. So its official name is Inner Works of Life. It is based on artwork by Stephanie Law, and I know that I've talked about this recently, where it's a piece that is also pretty much the same as a journal cover that I have, and this is roughly what Inner Works of Life is going to look like when it's done. I'm stitching this on 25 count easy grid fabric, and I have put roughly 215 stitches into this, and I've stitched, getting myself just a little bit more organized here. Okay, so up near the top, where you see my fingers twitching just a little bit, that is where I've put my stitches into. I wanted to put just some of the darker shades in, and in these pieces, it always amazes me that even though 215 stitches is still a bit, it is so much a drop in the water for these kinds of pieces when we're talking about hundreds of thousands of stitches that need to go into it. So it's all okay. With Inner Works of Life, I have put most of my stitching in for the team's Adelaide Crows because I just needed something a little bit different, because with Inner Works of Life, there are actually some birds flying in it, and crows, birds. That's pretty much about as far as I went with that kind of logic. So that's all okay. Now, the last piece that I have to share with you is one that I have felt really frustrated with. Frustrated because I can't count. And I know that that had been one of my phrasings for last fortnight's episode, where I need to go back to school and learn how to count and go and get my eyes checked. So, with the piece I have to share with you, it is I am a custodian, and I already have it out of its bag. Here we are. So with I am a custodian, I'm just going to get the cover page for it and then share with you what the wonderful frustrations are. Thanks for your patience on that one. So I am a custodian. This is part 2 of the Downton Abbey stitching retreat hosted by the Black Needle Society, and the pattern that I'm stitching has been designed by Katie Landis. And this is roughly what part 2 will look like when it's finished. Now, the component in which I'm frustrated is that I can't count, and it meant that I had to frog several hundred stitches, and that's what annoyed me and frustrated me, because I I couldn't fudge this section. So down at the bottom here, everything's worked out okay now, and I've started restitching what I had to frog. Where you see the circle and the hubcap, so I'm stitching the car. I had the wheel fully stitched. I was starting to get into other areas of the bonnet of this car. I then came to realize that I was off by a row of stitching. I had stitched this car up a row, which meant that if I continued stitching, when I got up to this section of the border for part 1, it was going to be too compressed, and it was going to throw out the rest of the stitching that's due to happen for part 3 on this section of the fabric, and it was going to frustrate the bejesus out of me. And I really needed to get that fixed so everything could be okay and work out all good. So I'm stitching this 2/2 on 32 count fabric by Paddock Lane Designs. This doesn't have an official name to it because it was a mist dye. I am enjoying stitching on this fabric though. It is the first time that I've stitched on 32 count fabric, and I'm really enjoying the effect that it's having with my stitching. I'm liking how well my stitches are showing up. I'm using predominantly DMC threads that have been called for the pattern. The main personalization I've done for this particular chart, and I know that I've talked about it in previous times as well. The purple border that we have for this piece, I am using Classic Color Works. I think it's Purple Rain or Rainy Day. I can't remember the exact name right now. I do like the subtle variegation that this purple has, and it is going to come together really nicely. So the good thing is that this is pretty much as big as it's going to get, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the next installment. To help put into perspective though, I have put 170 stitches into this piece for the car. Let's see, let's get this around the right way. So this is 170 stitches at a minimum, and I have this associated with the AFL team, the Fremantle Dockers, mostly because of the colour purple that is part of their team colours, especially when they're playing away from home. If you haven't guessed, the colour purple is one of my favourite colours. And that is pretty much it with regards to the stitching that I've done for the last fortnight. I am trying to talk as quickly as I practically can because I know the last few episodes I have done have been well over an hour, and I'm very slowly bringing this back to as close to half an hour as I can practically make it. I know that, again, this episode is not going to be half an hour. It is going to be between 40 minutes and an hour. With all that said and done, plans for the next fortnight. So, because I very much overestimated what I could do for stitching for the Comm Games and what I could achieve, I feel annoyed with myself for this because there are so many patterns that I wanted to work on and see a lot more progress on, potentially get finished or get closer to a finish anyway. We're going to have to wait and see. So at the moment, the 100 stitches per gold medal is still achievable. Tonight is meant to be the last night of the swimming, which means that Australia's gold medal chances are going to significantly drop. So we've done our sprinting, so to speak, for the last 5 days of gold medals, and I think after tonight it's going to drop off quite a lot. So it'll give the rest of the countries ample opportunity to catch up because we are now moving into the athletics section of the schedule, I guess. And some of the athletics have already started happening, and that's where, especially last night, we did get a couple more gold medals or medal placings through the running. But I know that there are so many awesome and amazing countries who dominate with the athletics or the track and field, especially the running, that those countries are going to be fantastic and be getting gold medals or silver or bronze for their countries. And Australia will certainly try their hardest to win and Yeah, I think it's kind of nice that the other countries are finally going to show up and shine and say, Australia, look, hey, yep, you guys are fine in the pool. We're going to show you how it's done, as far as the track and field is concerned. And that's going to be pretty cool because that means that I'm going to be able to work on some other pieces, whether it be full coverage or partial coverage. And it'll be nice to show you some variety for that. Now, one other thing I did want to show as far as my plans with Christmas stitching and that kind of thing is a Pinterest board that I've been slowly putting together. And I'm just going to pause and get it organized so I can show you what I'm rambling on about. Okay, so on Pinterest, I created a board for the Christmas stitching, and these are just a lot of the saves that I've put together. Some of these you'll recognize as Shannon Christine designs, so I'll most definitely be heading over to her store to purchase some of these patterns if they're available, and then going to the other respective stores where I can to to purchase those charts. With some of the charts that we see that appear to be monochrome, perhaps. That's where I'll be having a closer look at my stash and then picking out some of the colors that I think could look beautiful for those particular designs and really make the most of the threads that I have and just showing off the amazing designs that are there. And those pieces may come into play when I finish Scottie dogs. So fingers crossed I can actually get that all sorted out. The really cool thing with Scottie dogs is that it it takes me just a few hours to get those particular dogs done, or one particular dog. I've never really counted how many stitches each dog has. It may vary as to how many each dog has because of its movement. So whether it's sitting, standing, or stretching out, whatever the context may be, that may vary a little bit as to the number of stitching. Um, and each dog is a little bit different with the amount of backstitch that it requires as well. But thankfully, it's not the kind of backstitch where it's really every square that needs the outline. So that's been really nice, and I've been able to do a little bit of couching to do with the outline. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it with regards to to the plans. Really, it's now at that stage of just aiming to do what I can with the Christmas stitching, and then once the Com Games are done, I may still do a little bit of Christmas stitching just as a bit of a carryover from that. But then we'll be well and truly into August because today is the 29th of July. Tomorrow is a full moon. I don't know if that will mean much or not for life, but what it will mean is that August, especially the 1st of August, is known as the horse's birthday. So perhaps in a couple of days' time, I might work on zebras, perhaps, see if we can get a bit more work done on them because, again, with zebras, for anyone who has been with me for a little while, you know that I'm wanting to get that piece finished by the end of this calendar year, and I think it's achievable as well. So we'll wait and see. Today being Wednesday, we will be traveling in a couple of days' time. We actually travel today as well. So in terms of life update, I'm going to keep this as quick as I practically can. Quick overview. We did head down to the coast on Monday, and Monday we chilled out, traveled couple of hours drive away from where we live. stayed at the house, then we found out last night that we ran out of gas. The house is a mixture of gas and electricity as far as heating and cooking is concerned, and we have a gas cooktop, and gas also powers the hot water, which has an influence on the dishwasher, our showers, bath, hand washing, anything. It has an influence on the washing machine as well, depending on whether you do hot or cold or warm cycles. So it meant that cooking last night, we were able to use the air fryer. We could have gone out for dinner as well. We had gone out for lunch, so that's where we had decided to stay in for dinner. Showering last night and this morning was different. We found ways to work around with what we had available to us. The good thing is it's just an easy fix in terms of the big gas bottles just need replacing. They're due to get replaced this coming Friday, so on Saturday we're going to head down to the coast again, just so we can clean up after ourselves a bit better and spend a little bit more time down there, and then come back when we can. We haven't set an exact time frame as to when we'll come back. We do have some nice flexibility going on regarding our timing for that. I guess personally, I've not heard anything about any prospective jobs as yet, which is okay. It's enabling me to refocus on other priorities and see where life takes me for those priorities. So I have about a minute left for the timer that I have, and with all of that in mind, thank you so much for sticking around to see what I've worked on, hear my ramblings about not being able to count and completely misjudging how much I could get done for stitching, and the fact that Australia is just kicking butt with the Commonwealth Games, and we are at the top of the medal tally. So that is nice from an ego perspective, as far as if Australia has an ego. Other than that, I look forward to seeing you all in a couple of weeks' time, and I hope to be able to share with you a lot more progress on a bigger variety of projects. Until next time, happy stitching, everyone.